My last attempt at explaining the differences between the hydrophobic tar and hydrophilic nucleotide was not entirely clear. My apologies. The reason for this was that I was under the false assumption that Npage85 had a brain. I will not make that mistake again. In my ignorance, I expected Npage85 to fill in the blanks himself. My bad. So once again, let me explain everything from beginning to end so that any rational person will be able to follow it. Rational will exclude you, Nicky boy, so I expect you to make a response to this one, and then I will have to make yet another response, maybe using hand puppets or something. I don't know how to make it any simpler than this. So we both agree that there is a process that will produce nucleic acid and tar and various other organic molecules. This process does not occur in the ocean, so we are left with, in lack of a better word, a goo of organic material, which will have to make its way to the ocean by gravity. When this goo hits the shore, the nucleotides, due to its free electron pairs and negative charges, will form hydrogen bonds with the polar water molecules, and the nucleotides will be dissolved in water. This nucleotide, now dissolved in water, will flow with the currents. There is a low probability that it will arrange itself in such a way that it will make a covalent bond with another nucleotide. A covalent bond is much stronger than a hydrogen bond, and its nucleophilic substitution reaction will require an exact 3D arrangement of both nucleotides. The probability for this will increase manifold if two nucleotides will be present in a semi-permeable microsphere, as a semi-permeable will also entail that it is semi-confined. Therefore, the probability for a covalent bond is now increased manifold. There might even be amino acids or polypeptides trapped in the microsphere, which will catalyze the reaction. We don't know, and that is how honest you can get. Now, the hydrophobic tar molecules consist of long carbon chains. Due to hydrophobic forces, they will float on top of the water. A point I have made several times before in numerous videos. And when they come in close proximity to another tar molecule, the attractive force of hydrophobic interaction will aggregate these two molecules together. As more and more tar molecules will aggregate, the density of the aggregate will lead to submersion, and the aggregate will sink to the bottom of the ocean. Also previously mentioned several times in numerous videos. Now, if by some miracle a single tar molecule would escape the aggregate, a purely hypothetical situation, which would be a 1,000,000,000 to 1 shot, and finds its way to a microsphere, it would incorporate itself into the membrane, breaking off a piece of the membrane. When we speak of tar, we normally talk about decay in vegetation. Before life there was no vegetation, so the organic processes back then that led to tar production would be insignificant in comparison to the amount of tar that is produced today by decaying vegetation. How many single tar molecules do we find floating around in our oceans today? None. Compare that to 3.8 billion years ago, when there would have been even less tar available. Do you still want to claim that tar would have an impact on the microspheres, or the nucleotides therein? Come on, dazzle me with your chemical expertise. You might be able to teach me something 11 years of university studies have not. When dropping two tar molecules in water, they will instantly aggregate together due to hydrophobic forces. Yes, I wasn't particularly clear about that. They will bond instantly compared to two nucleotides. It is just as likely the tar molecules, will attach themselves to the hydrophobic glass walls as well without ever coming together. I did not specifically state that the liquid was not stationary, which I thought was obvious. You jumped at this, since if the liquid was stationary, the tar molecules will never meet. However, the ocean is not stationary, nor is the liquid in the glass in my example. Sooner or later, the two tar molecules will be in proximity, and they will both float on top of the surface and aggregate. Now, if you compare that to two soluble nucleotides that can float freely in the not stationary liquid, this will happen instantly. The aggregation of tar molecules compared with two soluble nucleotides. I never addressed your remarks about my statement, how God did it, on how you twist that with Newton's theory of gravity. It was so absurd I did not think I would need to point this out. But after reading your comments, you apparently think you scored a major victory here, so let me address it now after all. When I said how God did it, I was only referring to intelligent design. I was not speaking about scientific theories in general. Evolution shows us how the genetic information in DNA is created by random mutation and natural selection. Intelligent design offers no explanation of how God generates genetic information in DNA. This ridiculous theory only says God did it. And if you think using God did it is strawmanning intelligent design, then you are being dishonest. Intelligent design was exposed during the Dover trial for what it really is: creationism in new clothes. The Wedge document clearly indicates this. Now, the only other possibility except God are aliens, and that does not make you any more rational if you believe life on Earth was planted by little green men, which would have had to evolve into existence on another planet. Since intelligence cannot spring into existence from nothing, neither can your God. He would also have had to evolve. But hey, if you have your own separate version of intelligent design, I would not be surprised. You seem to have your own religion as well. And evolution is the only accepted scientific theory that explains the diversity of life. It is accepted by 99% of scientists, and I'm using the Newtonian definition of what a scientist is: someone who uses the scientific method. Intelligent design, on the hand, is rejected by 99% of scientists. If you want to claim that it is a generally accepted scientific theory, when less than 1% of the scientific community would agree on that, by all means do that. Provide us with yet another example of how delusional you really are.